Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to find out later they were lying the entire time? And when the truth finally came out, the most painful part was not just the lie itself, it was the fact that you believed it. Because some liars do not just lie with words, they lie with confidence, they lie with emotion, they lie with timing, they lie with body language, and most dangerously of all, they lie in ways that make you question your own instincts. That is what makes lying so powerful, and that is why some people can deceive others for weeks, months, even years without being caught. Because the best liars do not simply hide the truth, they manipulate the mind that is searching for it. In this video, we are going to break down how liars make people believe them, the psychological tricks they use, why those tricks work, and how to protect yourself before you become the next person they fool. Because once you understand how deception works, you stop being so easy to deceive. The first thing most people get wrong about liars is this: they assume lying is only about words. It is not. A skilled liar knows that people do not judge truth based only on facts. They judge truth based on feeling. If something feels believable, if the person seems calm, if the story sounds emotionally right, if the timing makes sense, people often accept it, even when the facts do not. And that's exactly where liars gain power. Because liars know that humans are emotional creatures first, logical creatures second. That means if they can control your emotions, they can often control what you believe. The first trick liars use is confidence. Confidence is one of the strongest shortcuts in the human brain. When someone speaks clearly, answers quickly, looks calm, and acts certain, most people automatically assume they are telling the truth, even when they are not. This is because the brain often confuses certainty with honesty. A nervous, truthful person may look suspicious. A calm liar may look trustworthy, and that's dangerous. Because some liars understand that delivery matters more than content. They know that if they say something boldly enough, many people will not challenge it. This is why some of the most convincing liars do not sound unsure. They sound rehearsed. They sound smooth. They sound emotionally controlled. And that control makes people lower their guard. The second trick liars use is mixing truth with lies. This is one of the oldest manipulation tactics in the world. A pure lie is risky, but a lie wrapped in truth is much harder to detect. So what do liars do? They tell you real details, real places, real emotions, real names, real events. And then they slip the lie into the middle of it. Now your brain sees familiar pieces and assumes the whole story must be real. This works because the truth acts like camouflage. The real details make the false details feel safe. That is why partial truth is often more dangerous than a complete lie, because it does not feel fake. It feels close enough to reality to pass. The third trick liars use is emotional manipulation. Liars know that when emotions rise, logic often falls. So instead of just telling a story, they make you feel something. They make you feel sympathy. They make you feel fear. They make you feel urgency. They make you feel guilt. They may cry. They may sound hurt. They may act offended that you even questioned them. And suddenly, the conversation is no longer about the truth. It is about how bad you feel for doubting them. This is where many people lose, because instead of asking, "Is this true?" they start asking, "Am I being unfair?" And that shift is exactly what the liar wants. The fourth trick liars use is giving too much detail. Most people think more detail means more honesty, but that is not always true. In fact, some liars overload their story with unnecessary details on purpose. They mention exact times, exact locations, tiny background events, random side stories. Why? Because too much detail creates the illusion of memory. It feels like someone is recalling something real, but sometimes they are not remembering, they are performing. They are building a story so packed with information that your brain becomes overwhelmed and stops questioning the bigger picture. This is why some lies sound incredibly convincing, not because they are true, but because they are decorated. The fifth trick liars use is attacking your doubt. A skilled liar does not always defend the lie directly. Sometimes they attack the person questioning it. They may say, "Why would you even think that? You clearly don't trust me. I can't believe you would accuse me. You're being paranoid. You always overthink everything." Now notice what happened. The focus moved away from the facts and onto your reaction. This is a classic manipulation tactic, because once you feel guilty for asking questions, you are less likely to ask more, and that gives the liar more room to keep lying. This is especially powerful in close relationships, because the liar knows you do not want conflict, you do not want to seem toxic, you do not want to seem insecure, so they weaponize your good intentions against you. The sixth trick liars use is consistency over time. Many lies are not believed because they are brilliant. They are believed because they are repeated, again and again and again. The human brain often starts accepting repeated information as familiar, and familiar things feel true. This is called the illusion of truth effect. The more often you hear something, the less resistance your mind has to it, even if it started as a lie. That is why manipulators repeat the same story with confidence. They know repetition builds false trust, and over time, even you may start thinking, well, maybe that is what happened. The seventh trick liars use is exploiting what you want to believe. This may be the most powerful tactic of all, because people do not just believe lies because they are fooled. Sometimes they believe lies because the lie is emotionally convenient. If you want love, you may believe the charming liar. If you want peace, you may ignore red flags. If you want the relationship to work, you may accept excuses you would never accept from anyone else. This is why liars often study your hopes, your fears, your needs, your loneliness, your desire to trust, and then they build lies that fit those emotional gaps perfectly. In other words, the lie works because part of you wants it to be true. And that is not weakness, that is human nature. But it is exactly what manipulative people exploit. Now here's the part most people don't realize. Liars do not always lie to make you believe them. Sometimes they lie long enough to make you doubt yourself, and that's a much darker level of manipulation. This is where lying becomes gaslighting. They deny things that happened, they change small details, they rewrite conversations, they act confused when you remember something clearly. They say things like, "That never happened," "You're remembering it wrong," "You always twist things." And slowly, your certainty starts to break. Now the liar no longer needs a perfect story, because your own memory has become unstable. And once you stop trusting yourself, you become easier to control. That is why repeated lying can become psychological abuse. It is no longer just deception, it becomes reality manipulation. So how do you protect yourself from liars? First, pay attention to patterns, not performance. Anyone can sound convincing once. Anyone can cry. Anyone can act confident. Anyone can say the perfect words. But patterns reveal character. Look at what repeats. Look at what changes. Look at what never adds up. Watch for emotional pressure during truth-seeking. If every time you ask a reasonable question, the other person gets offended, angry, dramatic, or makes you feel guilty, that is a red flag. Truth can handle questions, manipulation often cannot. Third, be careful with stories that feel designed for your emotions. If the story perfectly protects them, perfectly explains away every concern, and somehow always makes you the unreasonable one, pause. That is often not clarity, that is control. Fourth, write things down when needed. In manipulative relationships, memory becomes a battlefield. Text messages, dates, and written notes can protect your reality, especially when someone keeps changing their story. And finally, trust discomfort. Not every lie is easy to prove immediately, but your body often notices before your mind does. Confusion, tension, that strange feeling that something is off, that feeling matters, because sometimes your instincts are seeing the cracks before the evidence fully appears. Liars are dangerous, not because they always create perfect lies, but because they understand something most people ignore. People do not believe what is most true. They often believe what feels safest, what sounds smoothest, what hurts the least, or what they desperately want to be real. And that is why deception can be so powerful. Because the lie is not only fighting your logic, it is working with your emotions. But once you understand the tricks, once you stop confusing confidence with honesty, emotion with truth, and repetition with reality, you become much harder to fool. Because the strongest defense against a liar is not paranoia, it is awareness. And once you learn how liars really work, you stop listening only to what they say and start watching what they do. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more dark psychology, manipulation, and human behavior breakdowns. Because the more you understand the mind, the harder you are to control.